I feel a dark cloud descending upon me just like every other year of my life. It's the winter cold and dying of the light that depresses me. It doesn't help that this New Year's, it's 1984. But 4 months of planning are all coming together and there is reason for some hope. I've arranged house sitters coming for 3 months, a leave of absence from my job, and I am escaping to a land of warmth and bright blue water. Today the mailman plops a 1-foot cube on my porch from a music duplicator business, the result of months of labor. Feverishly opening the box, I see 100 identical cassette tapes shrink-wrapped with my name on them. Testing a tape at random, I hear myself singing a bawdy tune with a 4-man band backing me up. I have spent the fall sitting alone next to my wood stove with a Tascam tape recorder, playing with myself, so to speak, with my mandolin, banjo, guitar, and dulcimer double-tracked into a band that doesn't really exist. After merging the instrument tracks together, I have 11 old-time dance tunes and songs for a one-man band album. After mailing the master tape to New Jersey with a check, this box arrives in the return post. I now have a mail order business, where for $138 this cardboard box shows up on my doorstep. This idea comes from my street music guru friend who plays hammer dulcimer on M Street in Washington, D.C. Although he still plays with his hat out hoping for donations, most of his money comes now from selling tapes to strolling tourists attracted by the unusual sounds of his dulcimer. His vibe has evolved from apparently being a beggar to a street vendor attracting customers by playing enchanting music. So I record my own tape, and since I sell them for just $5 each to tourists who are visiting Key West, my business plan is fairly modest. Ultimately, I sell about 600 tapes and hear only positive reviews. One time only, as I walk down a residential street in Key West, I hear my own tape playing out of somebody's window, and my quest for fame and fortune is totally fulfilled. Now, I just have to move this little business away from this dreadful, dark, cold winter. I have an odd friend who is driving down with me to the Florida Keys. Craig is a fanatic for throwing Frisbees, and he actually has 2 Guinness World Book of Records won in national competitions. His specialty is the 4-inch mini Frisbee, and his records are for duration and distance. Craig's only condition for helping me drive south is that we stop and play Frisbee golf at every course on the East Coast. Fortunately for me, there are only 2, and after our first full day of driving south, we pull into the rural and vacant South Carolina Frisbee golf parking lot. Craig pulls out his array of 6 professional competition Frisbees and carefully plays the first hole, landing a disc right in the basket after 4 shots. Meanwhile, I have actually located my only Frisbee in the back of the car, but I'm mostly hitting tree trunks trying to follow him. By the time we complete 18 holes, it's pitch dark, and we put up the tent right next to the car after a dinner of beer and bread. In the morning, after a bread breakfast and another round of golf, we head down Interstate 95 to the only other Frisbee golf course in the heart of Miami. We arrive about 1 a.m. and the course is completely vacant, but it's brightly lit by streetlights and we can play. After a night sleeping in the car, we play our breakfast round of golf. Craig stops at a payphone and calls the Frisbee Club in Key West to notify them of his imminent celebrity arrival. And sure enough, when we pull into the city park later that day, he is received by his Frisbee people as a conquering hero. He grabs his duffel bag of Frisbees, says so long, and disappears with his entourage, and I don't see him again for the rest of my visit. But I also have my own alternate world that I live in, and it all revolves about something new and unexpected for me, but apparently built into my DNA. I learned in Key West to love playing Irish music. In fact, all my friends here feel exactly the same way. We all play different kinds of music for money in Key West, some on Sloppy Joe's stage, different bars, some at Sunset with me, some at hotel lounges, or even by the outdoor swimming pool. But for fun, we play and sing Irish fiddle tunes till all hours at night. A bottle of Jameson whiskey usually figures in. One charming reason is that an Irish tune sounds much better the more fiddles playing that join in. Another charming reason for the popularity of Irish music here is Trina. It all started out one evening at sunset when a new band hits the pavement and immediately draws a large crowd, no doubt partly because of their colorful clothes and their not exactly raucous but decidedly lively and joyous music. But mostly it's because it's an all-girl band playing boisterous Irish fiddle tunes. Right in the middle is my friend Cindy, the local bass player, obviously their old friend, who announces, "Ladies and gentlemen, from all across the East Coast, Canada, and Ireland, I give you the Scruffy Sisters." And out pours a driving wall of Irish dance music, both fast and fierce. There's a fiddle from West Virginia, washboard, banjo from Canada, and a mysterious keyboard clavinet pounding out the rhythm and seemingly bigger than the diminutive player sitting behind it. This is Trina, all 5 feet of her, widely considered in Ireland to be the most influential vocalist in Irish history. Not to mention she's probably the hardest partier. She has founded several famous traditional bands, has cut albums, gives international concerts, but here she's a scruffy sister on winter vacation. Gary announces that the music party will be outside at his house tonight and advises us to bring camping gear so we don't have to go home afterwards. After a magical night of jigs and reels, we roll out sleeping bags about 3 a.m. and drift off listening to Trina singing slow Irish ballads all by herself, with cigarettes and whiskey bottle perched on her keyboard. When I wake up the next morning with the sun in my eyes, she's still singing. The next few days are an immersion class for me in all things Irish. Jan and Gary's house is on Passover Lane, directly across from the cemetery, where the graves are above ground like in New Orleans, and the funerals are also accompanied by a small, slow-marching brass band. The cemetery is compatible with our late-night parties. Gary's large yard is shielded on all sides by vegetation and palm trees, but right in the middle of the yard there used to be a wide hand-dug well, in olden days the only source of water for the residents. A very energetic musician named Chris from New York conceived and organized a work party to build a deck over the old well opening, install tiki torches, and create the perfect party spot. But other than Chris, everything on Passover Lane moves pretty slowly. The streets are very narrow, and at the turn by the house, the neighbor has created a very colorful glass wall right on the curb. It's cement with rows of embedded wine bottles about 4 feet high, attractive but deadly. Sometimes a car scrapes a few bottles into pieces, but the artist just cements new ones in their place. That's why everybody but Chris walks, bikes, and drives around here very slowly. After several years of playing music down here with the same people, we have gotten our music performances down to a science. We play every night at the Seafront Dock Sunset Celebration. Through no fault of my own, my band is my band, not because of my music qualities, but because I have to sit down to play my instrument and therefore everybody else sort of stands around me. Also because my loud dulcimer is great for drawing a crowd, but when I stop playing, everything gets so quiet that I feel like I have to start making wisecracks to fill the vacuum, so I end up being the front man. Our fast fiddle string band dance tunes really get the audience moving, and since we have 6 or 8 players every night, it's the biggest band among all the different acts at Mallory Square. Each night, whichever of our friends that show up get to play, and we put a guitar case out in front for donations. I put a little display of 10 of my cassette tapes out, and however many of them sell, at the end of the night I take $5 out of the case for each one. The rest of the band splits all the rest of the money. Then we usually go out on the town and spend it all. Since we're really not into it for the money, we have a lot of fun with our mega band, and the crowds are practically dancing around us to our fast tunes. It's just 8 friends playing for an hour a day for some beer. We don't need rehearsals because we just play the old-timey standards. With my dulcimer and a bass fiddle, we're pretty loud and have no problem drawing large crowds to one end of the pier, which avoids interfering with the other acts. Occasionally, when we end a tune, a new rival act has set up right next to us and immediately starts making their pitch to try to steal our crowd. We've learned that with our big band sound, we can steal our own crowd right back by just playing loudly right away. The other acts quickly learn to leave us our space. We also learn to deal with the roller skater narcissist guy, who is always dancing to his own music while wearing headphones, but skating in front of our crowd, distracting them. We finish a tune and try to talk to them, but he steals the show while ignoring us completely. We make fun of him by using the old showbiz trick of telling jokes while pointing right at him. He can't hear what we say, but he sees the laughing crowd all looking at him. He quickly leaves and bothers us no more. It's advantageous for us to occasionally take a break and let our audience disperse. Then, after a musical flourish, we gather a new crowd and start all over again using our 3 best come-ons. Now, folks, if you've never seen one of these instruments before, it's called a hammer dulcimer, and we're playing Appalachian dance music. This makes the audience gather a little closer. We know you're looking at these lovely lady fiddlers standing right behind me, and you're wondering which of us lucky guys is their boyfriends and who goes together with who. We have some cassette tapes for sale, which have this noisy dulcimer in the left-hand speaker to keep the driver awake when your vacation's over and you're making that long drive home. The lovely ladies in our band are very aware of being on stage in show business, and they always wear elegant outfits compared to us guys, who usually wear cutoffs, t-shirts, and baseball caps. I have a nice Key West Panama hat, but I have a hard time keeping it on my head when riding my bicycle down to play music, so I rarely wear it. Our friends, the costumed professional clowns, who've been performing as jugglers here for years, tell us we should light flaming tiki torches for visual excitement, but we never do. Almost every night, this long Mallory Pier has a beautiful wide water view of sunset over the harbor islands and a huge street fair. In these days, it's completely free-form and unregulated. Every year, new acts appear, some to persist alongside the veteran acts of many years, and some just disappear. Mostly after sunset, we don't see the other performers at our nightly Irish music parties, but one wonderful guy is gladly welcomed regularly, despite the fact that his instrument sounds like a very distant, screaming woman being tortured. He learns every tune we play on his musical saw, using a fiddle bow, loudly wailing away while concentrating intently. Bounce the Clown is a wonderful, friendly guy and consummate professional juggler. He also seems to be a hopelessly condemned bachelor, with his daily outlandish costumes, clownish bald head, except for long hair, flying away from the sides, sticking straight up, and humorous but brutally honest conversation. He also spends every single minute of every day juggling clubs, balls, and flaming torches at the beach, the sunset celebration, on tall unicycles, at parties, and even while just walking down the street. Always cheerful, but always in a hurry to start throwing objects into the air. His friends try to imagine him courting a romantic partner, but we know he'll never change one bit of his eccentricity. So imagine our delight when he shows up this winter with Mademoiselle Ooh La La, the beautiful, energetic juggler he met in Boston, who absolutely eclipses him at his own game. For the first time, we see Bounce working at being as outgoing as she is. While performing in costume, she and her dog Sparkplug bring down the house with zany patter and juggling tricks. If you chat with her one-on-one, she's the most sincere and loving person you know. Together, at their large house, they create a community oasis of performance excellence. It's a secluded grove with mango trees and a private yard full of acrobatic equipment. Soon there are 5 of us performers renting rooms there and practicing all day in their walled-in compound. I have to say that clothing is somewhat optional. Life becomes a laid-back but intense succession of beautiful tropical days. But this is a sojourn that lasts only a few months each year. All too soon, it's March and time for me to head north and return to the real world.